The following is a quick video to show you how you can use Enerlead for Salesforce to help do some preparation for calling a customer. It's interesting when you take a look at it. There's statistics out there that it says it takes about 6.25 hours to get an appointment, a successful appointment with a customer, and it could take up to 8 cold calls just to actually get somebody on the phone. So when you do that, you definitely, one of the keys to success of a salesperson is to be prepared. So if I'm picking Westbrick Energy, what we see here is that they're a private company, so sometimes it's difficult to get information. I could hit their website and I've got some information name, which is great, good place for me to start. And I can go in there and I can take a look at some presentations related to that. And that's wonderful information. But myself, because I want to be prepared, I'm going to go a little bit further on that side of it. So I quite often will reference a mapping tool so I can get a visual of where the customer is and what the customer is doing. So what I see here is I've plotted out 3 different maps, new well licenses, spud licenses, and facilities. And I've got my different icons to give me an idea of actually where they're operating, so I can get a visual associated with it. I then come down and I might want to take a bit of a comparison here. Something that's interesting to me is they say, okay, I said let's go in and let's take a look at the new well licenses over the last 120 days, and I can see that Pembina is a big focus, 62%. And then when I look at what their spud licenses are, we can see that Pembina was 47%. So that's telling me when I'm going to get prepared for my call for that particular customer that Pembina seems to be the emphasis right now, potentially because it's a lower cost from adding a new customer. And then I can come in and I can look at the facilities and I can say, okay, related to these facilities, where have they been putting them? And again, I've got a little bit of a glitch here from a data perspective, but we can see Pembina is where the majority of the facilities that they put in the last little while. So that helps me identify that. I can also look from this screen if I want to. I could come in here and I could say, well, what terminating zones, and do a comparison between the terminating zones. And I might want to look at the applicant names, who's put contact names, and I can see Scott and Susan are 2 main people there. And then when I come over and I look at the applicant contact name from an engineering perspective or a facility perspective, it's a totally different person. The other thing that I'm going to do when I prepare is I know when I call in and I'm again coming back here and saying, okay, I'm going to tailor my pitch to ultimately where they are planning to put facilities. Number one, from a Pembina perspective, I might come in here and take a look at my comparables and say who else is operating in the Pembina area. And when I look at that list, I'm going to look for companies that I've dealt with before and maybe some issues or problems or things that we've solved to show that I have extensive market knowledge of this area. I'm going to come over and now I've got written some of my notes to help me prepare. Some of the other things that I might want to look at is what are some of the partners that they're looking, they deal. So if I click on the rig locator, I can come in and I have the data set right now to be looking at the last 60 days. We're going to take it back a little bit and say, well, let's take a look at the last few months and take a look at what the drilling program was. And when I look at it, I can see rig number 1 is the number 1 rig that they're using, and that happens to be Trinidad Drilling. So I could prepare myself for that. I can also do some comparisons based on how long is it actually taking them to drill a well there. So that's the time between spuds that we're looking for. And then I'm going to look down here and I'm going to look at the surface locations and see if we have any matching surface locations to identify, are they drilling on pads, are they moving from rig to rig. Again, taking notes, preparing myself for this particular call. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I've got in my CRM, I've got Salesforce, or I've got LinkedIn directly into it. I'm going to do some of the contacts there. I've added the contacts from their website of their executive management team. So those are all people that I could go in and talk to. I've got my main contacts from the facility license perspective. And then I'm also going to come over here and take a look at some of the other contacts that are associated with that account in LinkedIn, and maybe look for some trends. Maybe I'm going to give Tom a call, and then I'll go back and I'll take a look at accounts that Tom or companies Tom used to work for. And then I might go back and I look at some of my existing contacts and see if any of those have worked at any of those accounts. Referral selling is obviously an excellent way to go. So if I can have anybody introduce me to Tom, or I can speak with him about things that we've done in the past. I think that's very powerful. So that's just a quick example of how you can use data to prepare yourself for a call, to overcome some of the challenges we face as salespeople on how difficult it is to deal with customers today or get access